Assalamu alaikum. Hello everyone. Welcome to NDRMF podcast series, and today we are going to talk about something very interesting which is new to me. I read about it, heard about it, and frankly speaking had no clue about it. It is NATCAT, and I thought maybe we should talk about it, and experts are saying that NATCAT model is a good solution for disaster risk-free Pakistan. So how can we ensure to adopt this model? What are the benefits? What are the challenges? And to talk about it, we have our friend Bilal Anwer with us, who is the CEO of NDRMF, National Disaster Risk Management Fund. Welcome. Assalamu alaikum, Bilal. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Thank you very much for having me once again.
So this NATCAT, the word is very simple, but I think there is more to it. So would you first kindly try to explain to us what is this model and why is it important to adopt it?
Yeah, well, maybe even the word is not very simple actually. NATCAT actually stands for Natural Catastrophic Model. So there is a element of natural and there's a catastrophe in it, and it's a model, it's an application. One of the very landmark initiative of NDRMF, and essentially it's a very big data center and a database. What we have done in the compilation and putting it together, we have actually acquired quite a big amount of the data from all different sources, and we have accumulated this data into one system. And that data is related to the number of different elements which are critical for any disaster risk assessment, disaster risk reduction, disaster risk modeling. So when we say we're talking about a lot of, that in Pakistan, flood is one of those critical disasters or the phenomena. So the system actually have the data related to the floods, related to the rivers, and all kind of information which is critical for any kind of a flood-related situation. So, and similarly, it has information and data related to the population, related to the critical infrastructure, for example, the school building, the roads, the bridges, the health centers, and a number of other economically important elements of it. So essentially, for very first time, we have been able to put together quite a big size of data and information into one system, and that's basically is called NATCAT.
What is the source of this data?
Several. So it came from many different sources. Our space agency, Sparkle, basically did the work for us, and they have actually put together this whole data and information in a systematic way, which can be utilized. So we're talking a lot about which is a satellite-based data. Which we have acquired from Sparkle. Similarly, there's the data from other sources, which has been, for example, the population data as well as the roads and the critical infrastructure data that come from the census data as well as from the different agencies who basically have the responsibility for collecting all this data. So, given the gigantic size of the data, it of course has to come from so many different sources.
So Bilal, what next? Who has to adopt this model and what are the benefits of it?
So something is called, I don't want to sound myself too technical, but something is called probabilistic model. So it's based on probabilistic methodology, which basically means that it can actually run quite a deep statistical analysis based on the previous year's data for different kind of disasters and perils and hazards. So it has an exposure model as well as a vulnerability model, and then all the base layer for the real-time data or the previous data from many years, which is there. What we can do with this is we can actually build a lot of different risk scenarios, and we can actually conduct the risk modeling based on that what is going to happen in the next 20 years, 50 years, and in some scenario, in some cases, for example, flood and earthquake, we can actually run the model for the implications or the impacts in the next 100 or 200 years as well. So that's how it is actually can actually chart out the scenarios into the future.
So it's scenario building based on the data.
Based on the data. So I think there's a small kind of a differentiation or distinction which you need to understand is about the forecasting and the risk assessment. So forecasting is always short term. So we can have a 3 days short forecast, or 1 month, or not more than that. We all hear about the weather forecast. Anything which goes beyond 30 days, the credibility actually goes down. But when we're talking about the risk, and by its very nature, it has to be long term and very long term. So that's why this system is for the risk assessment. It's not about the forecasting, it's about the risk assessment. It'll look into the longer horizons, and it chart out the scenarios for 50 years, 100 years, 200 years, in some cases actually 400 years as well. So this the system can be used for so many different very useful applications. The very first one is for research and modeling, R&D work, especially for our researchers, and we are actually giving access to the universities and our researchers and students who can actually run the different kind of scenarios, and they can build out into their research work, which of course can be extremely useful. The other important application of is for policy making. Especially when we are making policies for different sectors, for example, for agriculture, and or for urban development. It need to be assessed. It need to be validated that if we are setting up a bridge, or we're setting up a school or a college or anything like this, we need to find out it's not on the earthquake prone or flood prone or heat waves prone areas. And so this is the kind of assessment which we can actually run through this system. The third one is the investments which the government is doing and even the private sector is doing. So that also can be utilized for this purpose. The fourth one is, which is extremely important, critical, and that is for insurance purposes. So NDRMF has a mandate, and we very recently have the National Disaster Risk Financing Strategy approved by the government, and we have a mandate for initiate and start building up the insurance products for farmers, for public infrastructure, similarly for other sectors as well. And I'm sure that the insurance penetration in the country is extremely low. So we have a mandate to basically start creating the enabling environment. And this system is going to be helping the insurance industry to come up with credible and reliable premiums for different insurance products.
So do you think, Bilal Sahab, that our construction industry and our private sector, are they forthcoming to these ideas?
They're not so far because, well, first of all, previously there was no system in place where they could have actually benefit from this kind of risk assessment. So most of the risk assessment was actually done on a very short-term basis and without having the extensive data systems at the back of it. And so that basically limits the risk assessment. With this system, now functional and operational, all these different sectors and industry which you are talking about, they can actually benefit from it. And anyone, if anyone is setting up a housing society, for example, which are very common in Pakistan, and one of those favorite investments, I think they can actually benefit from the system, and they can actually ask us to give them the risk assessment for the next for different kind of perils, for different kind of disasters, for heat waves, for earthquakes, for tsunamis, landslides, and all these different kind. And we can actually run those assessments. We can give them the risk assessment, and we can do the risk profiling for different land areas in the country, and that covers entire Pakistan.
So do you think some regulations have to be put in place and make it mandatory for instance, for example, let's take the example of a housing society, as you mentioned. So should it not be mandatory for them to comply to this model, and like the government can by law make it mandatory?
Absolutely. I think that's what now the policy has to be calibrated, has to be brought up to align with these requirements. And since that excuse is not there anymore because we have the system in place, and the system actually can provide us those kind of risk assessments. So the regulation need to be updated as well. And housing society is a good example. It's a very relevant example as well. But think about the other critical infrastructure, for example, hospitals or airports or ports, or even the roads and the bridges. And similarly, the government actually invests a lot on either building the new infrastructure or sometime actually maintaining the old infrastructure as well, which of course was built with all the information and the risk assessments which were available back at that time. But now, of course, the exposure level has also increased in Pakistan. So I think that need to be assessed as well, whether that's infrastructure need to be maintained in that place or actually need to be shifted somewhere else. So I think the application is literally limitless.
So, Bilal sir, when it comes to the risk hazards that Pakistan has, we say you name it and we have it. So there's hardly any disaster-prone risk that we do not have, which is unfortunate. So how do you think that it covers all the risks that this country has, or is there a limit?
No, right now we have all the hazards, or we call them perils, all the hazards actually which the country has been largely suffering. Technically, they are categorized in two broad. One is hydrometeorological hazard, the other one is geophysical. And in hydrometeorological, there are floods, there are tsunamis, cyclones, and heat waves. And geophysical, we're talking about earthquakes and landslides and all these areas. So altogether, right now we cover actually 9 of them, which broadly covers all the risks, all the disasters, risk related to different kind of disasters which the country has been exposed to, has been suffering. So it is pretty comprehensive in that sense. Of course, there is a room for extension and expansion, and there are new kind of scenarios and exposures which are building up. For example, forest fires has not been very prevalent in Pakistan, but we have started seeing it in the last few years, and we don't know what else is actually coming, because there are kind of a new phenomena which are just arising everywhere.
Bilal sir, are there any other partners? Because I think this cannot be a one organization agenda or mandate, and it's not possible. So do you have any government partners or international partners or private sector partners in this?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So bringing it to this level is a result of partnerships as well. So Pakistan Space Agency, SPARCO, has been an instrumental partner in that, and actually they had the capabilities and they had the access to all the data, and they have been actually put together this application for us. And this partnership with SPARCO, of course, is going to be going on for its further development, for further creating the different products and information products out of it. So we are actually very much looking forward to their partner. But in addition to that, we are right now setting up and strengthening our partnerships with a number of other institutions as well. So there are one is those who are actually have this direct mandate for collecting the different kind of information and the data, which of course will be accumulating more and more, further enriching the system, and it's a kind of an endless process. The other is those who have developed the expertise in terms of conducting the smart machine learning and artificial intelligence kind of tools. And those some are based in Pakistan, others are international, with whom we are actually engaged right now. And they are actually helping us how to productize this system, how to create the different kind of services out of it. For example, we can create the different services for farmers, or for the insurance and the finance industry, and similarly for others as well. For that, we need partnerships, and we are actually very actively and very aggressively actually working with so many different partners. At the international level, we are right now talking with some regional data bases who are of a similar kind of a nature, and Asian Development Bank actually helping us and supporting us, who have actually helped in kind of setting this whole thing up as well. So they're actually helping to basically help us to reach out to regional data systems as well, and similarly international as well. So the partnerships we already had, kind of bringing ourselves up to here. But I think moving forward, the partnerships and collaborations are even more critical and important, and that's what we are working right now on. Well, first of all, the base system is there, but the system need to be further strengthened and further refined and enriched. And that's what it means is we need more and more data and more information. And there are different institutions who are custodians of those data. So I think partnership is one thing, and through which we can actually do that, and we are actually doing that. So we need to engage with a lot more institutions in order to further refine and further enrich and further strengthen the system. Secondly, in terms of the applications, I think that's where the education and awareness becomes very, very important as well. And we need to make the different institutions educated and aware that the system is available, it's accessible, and you can actually seek the information and you can utilize it in so many different purposes. For example, some of the institutions from non-governmental sector who are very directly engaged with the different communities. Now, they have access to the information. It might not be information in a very defined shape, but I think that can be done. You know, there are tools and there are methodologies which are available, which can be integrated as part of the system, and that information can be actually brought into the system. But secondly, we need to empower them as well, that they can actually benefit from this application as well. Now, application of this system is it can be in every single sector. It can be very wide. Different institutions can use it. But for example, Pakistan Meteorology Department have a lot of information and data related to the weather, which is extremely useful, which we want to actually layer it up with our system. Our sister agency and our partners as well on many fronts, NDRMF actually have a lot of information when it comes to the relief, recovery, humanitarian, rehabilitation, reconstruction work, on which they have done some phenomenal work. I think that information is also important, and we would like them to have the information from this system and apply in their preparedness as well. It can be tremendously helpful for preparedness, and that's where NDMA, PDMAs, P&D departments in the government, and similarly those NGOs who are directly working with the communities, for them it can be extremely useful.
What is NDRMF doing or planning to do when it comes to making people aware of the NATCAT model? Maybe this podcast is part of it, but how to make people aware of this? Because this, as you said, has long-lasting implications, maybe of 50 years, 100 years, or maybe 500 years. We will not be there, but our decisions today will matter.
Yes. Given the kind of slightly technical nature of it, but at the same time, given the widespread room for application of it, it is our mandate. It is our NDRMF's duty actually to make people aware of it. So we have a plan for doing so, and. So as you said, this podcast is one of those events and activities which we are trying to do. We are, because we are actually trying to target the different categories of audience. So one is, of course, we have to facilitate its application and implementation within the government institutions. So we're trying to make it available, accessible, and make it applicable to the government decision decision-making process when it comes to the investment on public infrastructure or all these kind of activities. And we're actually reaching out to the government institutions, and we are asking them that whenever you are making a decision for investment, you can just send us a request and give us the location, and we can actually carry out the risk assessment, and we'll produce you a very thorough, a comprehensive report which actually covers all these different exposures and vulnerabilities for that particular location or the region. So that's one thing which we're doing for those people. Now, the other one, of course, is policy making, and that's there again. Actually, we are actively working in bringing this to the attention of the policy making institutions, and just making sure that, okay, this is available now, and before you make any kind of policy, because when it comes to climate change or disasters, it affects every sector of the economy. So whether a water policy is being made, or climate change policy, or education policy, or infrastructure development policy, it has the implications for almost every single policy. And so our next kind of a target is that every kind of a policy making, we are able to provide a very solid and very structured information for that, which actually can inform the policy making process. The third category is the researchers and the students. For that, actually, we are making it popular and reaching out to the universities, and in the public forums, we have actually created the different access points as well, through which they can actually seek information. So it is publicly available right now on NDRMF website, and we are also creating some short videos which are actually for education purposes, how to make use of it, and similarly some printed material as well. At the next step, we want to bring it to the level of to the general public as well, and for that we are creating some easy to use kind of applications and the interfaces, so anyone actually can go and look into their location and see that what are the exposure levels for that particular location, and what need to be done. So it's quite a comprehensive job, and so we have actually we came up with a plan of action, and we'll be utilizing people like yourself as well, and the different channels in order to enhance our reach to the different sets of the community.
Bilal, thank you very much for updating us on NATCAT model, and as Bilal Anwer Saab rightly mentioned, I think the students who are watching this podcast, you must go, the experts who are becoming experts, who are part of the fraternity, should go on the website of National Disaster Risk Management Fund, NDRMF, try to learn more about it, try to educate yourself more about it, because especially students and the future generations, you have to take the baton ahead. Bilal, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.